Hi there, Mr. Reddick. This is Tom Stogsdill with Nelson Exteriors. I've been out here at your house with Rod this morning, just taking a look at everything and giving some guidance on best path forward and everything. So, anyways, I took a video of your house. We're going to take a look at it right now, just kind of get a feel of what's going on, and I'll make some notes as we go along with everything. So, just wanted to update you on what we found. So I'll just go ahead and press play here, and we'll go forward looking at what we've got, and I'll stop the video as we go along so we can take a look at some stuff. So looking at your siding, first of all, just kind of coming up, taking a look at some of the right here where I'm pointing, we've got a nail hole. Looks like it's been caulked in the past, which is great. That's what you need to be doing with this type of siding as you go, and everything. And and then just kind of taking a look at some more here. So what I'm looking for is basically three different things. The first sign, well, let me back up for just a second. So on this type of siding, we see a lot in the Atlanta area. It's what we call LP siding as a generic term, but that's a generic term for basically like a plywood or an OSB siding or a particle board siding. So this type of siding's had multiple class action lawsuits in the past from multiple manufacturers. LP, which is Louisiana Pacific, was the big one that they made a ton of this stuff and installed it all over the Atlanta area. Based on the look, this looks like straight up LP siding. So the siding here, there's also other manufacturers like GP, which is Georgia Pacific, and Masonite as well. So all three of them and a few other smaller players had some really bad boards that were made in the all around the nation, but specifically here in the Atlanta area. They were putting it up for probably about 10-15 years, from the late 80s through the early 2000s and stuff. So that's kind of what we're looking at. We replace a lot of the siding in the Atlanta market. And like I said, it's had multiple class action lawsuits because it starts delaminating when weather gets into the board. And we'll talk a little bit more about what that looks like on your house here. So going back to this type of siding, there's kind of three telltale signs that the siding's starting to fail, is failing, or has failed on you. Number one is the nail holes, which we just looked at just a second ago, right here. So we're looking for sunken in nail holes. Basically, the board is starting to swell out past where the nail was originally driven to. That's telling us that the siding is a lot thicker than what it was originally put up at. So this siding is actually about a 5/16 of an inch when it was originally put up. Maybe a little thicker, can be upwards of 3/8 of an inch. Right now, I'm measured in multiple areas. You're about 5/8 of an inch, so it's swollen at least a 1/4 inch, upwards of 3/8 of an inch in multiple areas on your house. So as we move forward here, so that's the first telltale sign. And we'll get to the second one here in just a second as I press play on this. The second one is going to be micro cracking underneath the board, on the bottom edge of the board. So a little hard to see. So there we go. So that's telltale sign of micro cracking. And if you've got it just on a few boards, you can usually kind of seal it off a little bit with some caulk, repaint the house, and get a few more years life out of it. When it's widespread, on the other hand, that becomes logistically impossible, one, and then two, all you're doing at that point when it's widespread is sealing in that moisture that's inside that board and allowing it to not get out at that point. So moving on, the third one that we're looking for is going to be waviness on the bottom edge of the board, and you'll see that here in just a second. We're gonna, on this video, make our way around to the back of the house where you can really see some waviness on that board and everything. So just bear with me as we go around. There's Rod. He was checking that moisture inside the garage there for you. So coming on the back of the house, again, seeing a lot of the bottom edge of that board and a lot of nails that have sunken in as well. So I'm going to stop it here just a minute. So there's the waviness I'm talking about. Let me see if I can get a little bit. So you can see that bottom edge of that board's really kind of wavy going across. And you'll see this in multiple areas on the house. See there? Right right in that area there, where things have gotten really, really bad on that board. Now, again, this is going down through multiple boards. You know, this is just an example of one that's widespread on your house. So, taking into account all three of those, that's where you're starting to get failure on your siding. So, a sunken in nail hole, you can caulk. That means moisture's getting in there. You can caulk that up and get some more years of life. Micro cracking on the bottom edge on a couple boards, again, minor, you can seal that off and maybe repaint and get some more years out of your board, but not when it's widespread. And you've got it widespread, as you'll see here, on the micro cracking. I'm going to get a little closer up. Pardon my video skills, my videography skills here. It's lacking for sure. So that was actually a good, I'm going to back it up just a little bit. Oops, I went forward. So that's a good example there of a, sunken in nail hole. And you'll see that widespread throughout. And then here I'm going to get some good close up on the back side here of again some waviness on the board, and then some micro cracking underneath. So a little tough to tell, but you can see that. And what I was trying to do here is showing you that it's not just on the lower boards, it's also on the higher boards where you can see a lot of that micro cracking and that waviness on the edge there as you go across. So, and then you can see a little bit of that micro cracking there. Oops. On that. So again, kind of moving forward, and I'll kind of try and speed it up here where we're getting. So this is on the back on the other side of the bay window, where you can see a lot of these sunken nail holes around. And then getting that bottom edge of that board, you can see the waviness that goes throughout. On that as well. So, and then this is, I'm going to fast forward through some of this stuff here. This is us walking around to the right side of the house, or the opposite side, the chimney side of the house, and just getting a little bit of this side as well. I took a look underneath the deck, kind of seeing how the framing is. Looks like your deck could stand some resurfacing as well. Getting some new deck boards on the top there, maybe some new railing, but we can talk about that later, or Rod can discuss that with you. So here again, we're seeing the same thing. So there's really not a side on your house where we're not seeing any issues, other than your chimney. So the chimney siding is actually in great shape. Looks like it's been recently done. The corner boards are all wood on your house. So if we do end up replacing your siding, we'll include just go ahead and replacing those corner boards with Hardie material as well, so you don't have any issues with that rotting in the future on your house as well. So, but no sense, all of your siding boards everywhere are in fine shape, or on the chimney are in fine shape. No reason to replace those unless you just wanted to. So, but we can do that and talk more about that. So, so moving on again, and I tried to kind of get a full scale of how tall that is and the conditions of the board. In everything here in not great shape. So here's a good example. Let's see here. Oops. So right here, you can see a little bit of delamination on the board. So that's like the fourth and last sign that your siding is failing, is you'll start seeing delamination of your board in multiple areas. And as we were walking around, I did see a lot of this. There's one specific area that was in real bad shape on the back towards the left side by the garage door, by the garage back entry door, where the siding is literally starting to flake off, and I can lift it with my finger and everything, and Rod can show you that as well. but so that's just another sign, the final sign that you're kind of within the next year of having to replace the siding, or that siding starting to get major failure on you when it's starting to delaminate like that. So more and more rainstorms we get, it'll get wet, it'll soak up more water, it'll dry, delaminate more. You get a good wind, or we get a good dry spell and everything dries out to where it's kind of, for lack of a better term, kind of crispy, almost like potato chips. Start kind of flaking off your house, kind of like that. I've seen it multiple times, and I've given many warnings to homeowners when it gets to that point, because hey, the siding's been on this house for 20-25 years, and 30 years, and we haven't had any problems, and and I'll start pointing out to them where it's flaking, where it's starting to delaminate, and I'm like, hey, within the next 6 months to a year, this is going to be pretty widespread. And I've had people that didn't believe me, and they're calling me back in about 4 to 6 months saying, hey, I'm starting to see more and more. I'm like, yeah, I know, I've seen it 1,000 times. So that's just kind of your fair warning. Like, you're probably going to see this starting to become more widespread around your house, where it's starting to delaminate, like in these couple areas here on your house. So all that being said, we're in a great position where we can get you a quote. We've got all the measurements on your house. We'll get you a quote for replacing all your siding. If all that you can do now is paint your siding, and maybe the funds dictate that's all you can do, we'll actually pass on the work. We actually much rather see you, even if that means the siding getting worse over the next year, much rather see you save up, getting to a point where you can afford to do the siding incomplete versus painting. The siding is just a little bit too far gone for a paint job, and really any contractor that tells you they can patch a few places here and there and make it work is really just not doing you a good service. Or maybe trying to match your budget, or just get a contract just for the sake of getting work or something like that. And it's just that's not in your best interest. It's throwing good money after bad, unfortunately, because it's so widespread at this point. Within the next year, 2 years tops, I can't even see it going that long. You're going to start seeing where that siding's going to flake, whether it's painted or not painted, on you. So anyways, I hope this video helps. Rod will reach out to you, get you any more details you need, or if you want to get on a phone call with me and Rod, that's no problem at all. We'd be glad to do that. But he'll get you some numbers put together. You and he probably need to talk a little bit more about details on exactly what you want to do with the siding, whether it's going to be primed and we'll paint everything, or doing color plus. If you're long-term going to be in the house, color plus makes a lot of sense. You'll end up skipping probably 2 paint jobs in the future doing the color plus. And let's face it, prices are only going up from now. So what might cost you $5,000-$6,000 to paint your house now is probably going to be $7,000-$8,000 in another 5 years, and even more in another 10-15 years when you'll need to paint it again. So anyways, I hope, like I said, I hope this helps. If you have any questions, just reach out to Rod or I, and we can get you any answers you need. So thanks again.